This is Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Well, good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon, Peg. How are you doing today?
Good.
Another great Saturday afternoon.
Yes, it is. And you know what? It's wonderful to be in the summer. I'm ready for this warmth, and I embrace it. I like it.
Yeah, being in the sun and the activities with the kids and fun weekend events.
Oh, and you know, I absolutely am so excited about our topic today. Maybe we should tell everybody a little bit about who we are, because it's usually Pete on with us.
Yep.
And he is taking a vacation day.
Lucky Pete.
Yes, good for him. He deserves it.
He does. So we're doing business talk today, and our company is called Take Action Business Coaching. And there are 4 coaches that currently are part of our firm. So Peg is my friend here today.
Yes, that is me. Yes.
Peg Burley. She has been with Action Coach Now, which is the name of our global company.
12 years, 13 years now coaching.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Long time. And her and Pete have been partners for just about that long.
Right.
Pete McDowell is our other coach that is the one taking the vacation today. Hi, Pete, out there on the boat.
Hi, Pete. Good for you. Good for you.
And then I'm Michelle Calcasola, and I've been coaching for a little over 3 years now, but I actually was lucky enough to be a client of Peg and Pete in a former life. So that's what brought me into
How long were you
coaching.
a client? 3 years?
3 or 4 years, yeah.
And honestly, you were one of our I'm not saying this because you're with me, but you were one of our best clients as far as results went.
Oh, well, thank you.
You got a lot of results. So, of course, then you had to become a coach.
Obviously.
Yes. And then we can't forget Angie.
That's right. And then we have Angie Haynes as our other coach. She's been with us a little over a year and a half
now. Yes, a year and a half. It goes quickly.
Yeah, it does. And so she's doing a great job. So when you work with our firm, you not only get one business coach, but you get 4.
Yes,
and we're always
too.
growing, so you may get more.
That is true. And so what is business coaching? Just if we could say a minute or less, what would business coaching be? How would you describe it, Michelle?
I would say that a business coach is somebody that helps you drive your business towards its next level of success. Because you might already have a successful business, and oftentimes when we are working with a business, they already are a very successful company, a very successful business owner. There's always things that the business needs to be growing or it's dying. So we need to be pushing to the next level. And sometimes we get so busy working in our business that we forget to work on the business, meaning to make sure that we're being profitable, to make sure that we're following a budget, to make sure that we have a unique selling position for marketing and that we have new and creative ideas for marketing and pushing things forward. And trying to remember those times when we didn't necessarily have the money and we were really driven to do things extra for our business, to go that extra mile, because sometimes we get really comfortable when we're in a successful business. I was recently listening to the book called The Power of Broke by Damon John, who's one of the sharks on Shark Tank. Very interesting book, and that's what he talks about is, you know, when you're broke and you're destitute or you're just starting out in your business, you're just starting out in life, and you don't really have enough money to do anything, you're a lot more creative in trying to find that next job, to try to find that next thing.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, and you work so much harder because everything is at stake. And it's interesting because Michelle and Pete and Angie and I, we get to talk to a lot of coaches all over the world. And if a coach is not hungry or an owner is not hungry, it's a dangerous place to be in.
Yep.
When you have reached your comfort level of, I'm paying my bills, I'm taking an income, I'm going on vacation, bringing in a coach at that moment, it's actually going to accelerate you because you need somebody to push you.
Exactly. Yep. So you need somebody to hold you accountable, just like you have a personal trainer keeping you accountable. If you're trying to get to a fitness routine or nutrition routine, having that person that's really going to keep you accountable for what you say you're going to do and helping you reach your goals is so important. Same thing in your business. That's what we do for businesses, is to make sure that we're holding them accountable, helping them gain new ideas, helping them with insight. And a lot of what we work on, too, is mindset. And that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today.
Yes. So when we say mindset, it's also shifting the way you think.
Yep.
Whether it's in a positive light or a negative light or a belief system, or it's so much of where we are is because it's where we think we are.
Right.
And so I love this topic today. We're going to take you through a book. Well, we're going to guide you through multiple books of reference of where we gather our data plus case studies. But I really like Michelle brought Andy Andrews, and the book is called
The Noticer.
The Noticer. And he also wrote
The Traveler's Gift.
Yes.
And his newest book is called The Little Things, which I haven't read the entire book on that one yet, but we're working through it.
Got it. I loved the Traveler's Gift, which is, I think it's the 7 Decisions to Success.
Yes.
But today we're really going to touch upon the Noticer and how it interacts, I think, Michelle, with a lot of what we deal with day after day with our clients. And we do a lot of leadership development of coaching and managers, and this will fit. So if you lead people, lead a family, actually, if you have relationships, you're going to want to listen to us.
If you talk to another person ever in your life.
Exactly. You're going to like this topic. Yes. I agree. Okay. So guide us. What do you think we should cover first? Okay. So we're going to look at Andy Andrews. We're going to look at the Noticer and what he wrote.
Yep.
There's all kinds of different topics that he dives into.
Yeah. There's a lot of learnings in here, but I think that we should start with perception, or the ideas of, how we perceive things, and how our mind can guide us in different ways. Because the mind is such a powerful thing that, people don't even necessarily realize. Obviously, we know we don't want to fry our mind with drugs and bad things, like in the egg commercial, right? They say,
I don't know
this
that
is
they
your
do
brain
that
on
egg
drugs.
Commercial. Yes. Do they do that anymore?
I don't know.
I think it's a couple
commercial.
Years
it is. Yes. So this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. So you can look that up on YouTube if you haven't seen it before. We do know the mind is such an important thing, but what we tell ourselves is just as important as what others are telling us or what we're saying to others.
That's important. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, so first of all, if you look at perception, there's behavior and then there's perception, and they might be 2 different things is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Perception could be the way we take something or the way we perceive ourselves or others, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Which could be wrong. In other words, my perception may be wrong, but it's whatever I think is right. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
What you tell yourself when you're by yourself about yourself, or what about the situation too, because really, you can see things in 2 different ways. We have a positive response to it or a negative response to it. So a lot of what he goes through as some examples in this book, Andy Andrews in The Noticer, he talks about how you can have a really hard life. In this book, this gentleman is living homeless under a bridge and has lost both of his parents, and his life was really hard growing up, and he just feels that, everybody has left him, that he has nothing to live for. Right. He's just struggling under this bridge and has nowhere to go, and is really in the, oh, woe is me mentality. And so what he talks about is how, of course, if that is your thoughts, if that's what you're telling yourself, if you're really focusing on negative, that's where you're going to stay. You're going to be stuck in that world, because whatever you focus on increases. So if you're focusing on, my life is horrible, then yes, your life is going to stay horrible, because you see no light at the end of that tunnel. You see no way to get yourself out of it. So you really need, instead, to see the struggles not as obstacles, but as lessons to learn from. What can we do from this? What can we draw strength from the setbacks that we've had?
I like you just said that, because it turns to a couple things you hear quotes. One is whatever you think is right. Whatever you think is right.
Yeah.
And then the other one is self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing, and this is what we do talk to our clients a lot about, Michelle, is this perception and thinking process, and where are you going with it?
Right.
And I like that you have a path, either positive or negative. Either you take the woe's me, or you say, I'm going to make a lesson to be learned.
Exactly.
And it's funny, because we were with one of our clients the other day, Michelle and I were, and they were saying they actually had a huge challenge. They had a real cash flow challenge. And I said, okay, we can choose to panic, and we can choose to say woe's us, or we can say, what are we going to learn from this? And how awesome is it that we will still survive? We're going to be fine, and we're going to have a great lesson learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's taking that time, when you have that obstacle, exactly what you're doing, and thinking, how can we learn from this? What can we do? And how can we prepare for the future? What could happen? How can we prepare for that without inciting fear?
Exactly.
So, we talk a lot about the formula E plus R equals O,
Yes.
which is events plus response equals your outcome. And it's something I know we've talked about here on the radio show before.
But it deserves a second
It
explanation.
does.
Let's take it down. So explain a little bit about E plus R equals O, and then when we return, we'll give you examples. How's that? So describe it a little bit.
So, the events we can't always control in our lives, and the outcome is what we want to happen or what will happen from it. The only thing that we can control is our response and how we react to what has happened, whether it's positively or negatively. So if we have a positive response, then we'll get a positive outcome. And if we have a negative response, we'll have a negative outcome. So it's really about focusing on that response and seeing how we can control that. So when we get back, we can talk about some examples, get into that a little bit more on how to control your response, how some people that we've worked with have used that positivity
to get the positive outcome. And it's neat because Andy Andrews with the Noticer, he doesn't talk about E plus R equals O, but he talks about how to deal with it. So when we return, we'll talk about how you can deal with it too.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more Business Talk.
Well, good afternoon. It's Michelle and Peg today with Business Talk. Michelle and I are business coaches. We've been working with businesses over the last, I'm going to say more than a decade, and all kinds. We do executive coaching, which is leadership development, management training, team development.
Right.
We also do business coaching, which you mentioned earlier before the break, a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we work with the entire business. Oftentimes we work with multiple members of the team, but at least the owner and the managers of the team, and helping them to run their company and get to their goals. And we'll help with whatever needs to be worked on, whether it's finances, marketing, team building, culture, anything that really comes along, helping to drive that business forward instead of staying stagnant or worst case scenario, decreasing as far as the business profitability and productivity, efficiency. We help it to constantly be moving forward and getting their goals.
And providing different trainings like today. So before the break, we were talking about The Noticer, which is an Andy Andrews book that Michelle and I just really enjoyed. We also liked his first book called The Traveler's Gift.
Yes.
And so we're talking about perception and behavior.
Yep.
And right before we talked about E plus R equals O, right?
Yes. And that means the events plus the response equals outcome. So the outcome is what will happen.
Yes, no matter what. We're going to have an outcome.
Yep. The events are what did happen or are happening. And the response is the only thing we can control, how we respond to that event happening. So, even a very simplistic scenario, which could be horrible, would say a tornado blew through your town and destroyed your house and destroyed all of these things.
That would be the event.
That would be the event. And so obviously you couldn't control that tornado was coming. Maybe you could have controlled whether you were in the basement or not, or if you had a basement or things like that, but you couldn't control that tornado coming. The outcome of the devastation of that tornado could be negative if you decided to just, be in that, oh, woe is me, life is horrible, things didn't go my way, I don't have a house, I don't have this and that. Or your outcome could be positive if you're grateful for the things. My family is safe, my friends are safe. I was able to recover X, Y, and Z out of the rubble. I still have a job. I still have money in the bank, whatever the things are that you're grateful for at that time, but also immediately, what am I going to do to move on? What am I going to do to move forward? How do I respond?
And so it was interesting. Michelle and I were with a client last week, and this might be you listening, is right now, economy is doing really well. So we're working with a lot of businesses that are really growing at a fast pace.
Right.
Really fast pace, and it's how we handle that. So in this case, the event is we have a client that has a lot of business coming their way, and they have some employees. And what's happening is the response to all that business is the employees are getting a little crabby. They're saying, these stupid customers who keep giving us business, stop it, because now I have to work overtime.
Right.
Or I'm a little stressed out because the amount of volume that I have to get out and be on time is stressing me out. And you stupid customers, why are you doing that?
Right.
So we got together, and Michelle and I just talked to the team about this E plus R equals O and said, hey, guys, team, here's our choice. Last, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, we actually had to go through a layoff because we didn't have the business. Where are we being grateful? What are we responding to? Because right now you're all feeling negative. You know what? We should be joyous that we have bonuses, that we get paid, that we have a great job, that we have each other. And that negative is really affecting the culture, and we got to stop it.
Right.
And so teaching them some different responses, and I think we're going to go into that next maybe, is gratitude.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Gratitude is one of the strongest things that we talk to people about changing our mindset and working on, keeping that positive response, because a grateful perspective brings happiness and abundance is one thing that Andy Andrews said in his book. And we definitely want to think about that. And we talked a lot to our customers about different disciplines and ways that can help them in order to improve their mindset, to be in a more positive, less stressed out, less negative mindset. And gratitude is definitely one of the things that we talk about a lot. We talk to people about writing in a gratitude journal every day, holding yourself accountable to writing 2 or 3 things down or saying 2 or 3 things out loud. But writing them down is a really great thing, because you can always look back on that. If you're having a really hard day, you can go back to that journal and read of all these things that you're grateful for. But also we talk about doing affirmations or I am statements to try to improve your mindset.
And explain what an affirmation is, Michelle.
So that's something when you want to tell yourself things that will build up your confidence, build up your mentality, make yourself feel better about yourself or your situation. So we talk to people about saying, like, I am a loving and supportive wife. If you feel like maybe you haven't been the greatest wife in the world, anything you can do to help make yourself believe the things that who you want to be, so you can change the person that you see yourself as. And so, we actually had a client when Peg and I were working with a client the other day. She had asked us, well, how do I, have my I am statements for things I want in the future? If I want to say I am the executive of a multi-million-dollar company or, something like that. That wasn't necessarily hers, but let's just say something like that. She said, how do I have affirmations and be saying these things of things I want in the future without being ungrateful for the things that I have now? And
it was her mindset saying that, I think, you know what, I feel by saying I want more doesn't necessarily say that I like what I have, and I don't want that to shift that way.
Exactly.
She's a very grateful, very happy person right now.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so, she had just told her husband the other day, like, we have the best life. I'm so happy with the life of where we are now. So she was having a hard time feeling like she should ask for more, that she should want to have more. So, I thought it was very brilliant what you said, how you've really changed your own personal affirmations by adding gratitude to them.
I want to tell you a little bit about my journey on this. So as Michelle was talking about that, and when that person said that, one thing that was happening to me was the opposite, that I was saying my I am statements and I felt overwhelmed. It was like, oh, I want this and I want this and I got to have this. And I was feeling like this sense of overwhelm, like and I think it was because maybe I was doing too much. And I said, you know what, I got to switch this. So on my own, I did a test case study. So listening, this is what I'd like you to do, is take your gratitude of what you're grateful for. So I'm going to do some of mine. So what I would say is, I'm so grateful that I get to be a business coach. And I'm so happy that I'm leading one of the largest business coaching firms in the world. See how that is?
Yes.
I am very grateful that we help make clients happy, make them more money, have them find time. And I'm really grateful that because of that, I get a lot of referrals and continue to get referrals to build up this practice.
Absolutely. So it's an and.
It's an and. So I do
really a great... happy for where you are.
Yes.
And looking towards the future. Because again, if you're not growing, you're dying. So you have to be pushing yourself in whatever capacity it is, whether it's personal or professional. You need to always be wanting to grow, wanting to learn, wanting to change.
And so we want you, if you're listening to this, we want you to do that a couple times a day, at the minimum once a day.
Yeah.
But that's, if you have a computer in your brain and you know you can program it, and we just told you the language to program it in order to be successful, why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely.
It's just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. And
Absolutely.
as coaches, that's just one of the things. Like Michelle said, we do work on tactical, like hiring the right person, possibly leadership development, working with your team. How do you engage and enroll and grow your culture? Right. But really, the mindset, which is a little bit about what Andy Andrews, the Noticer, is about, is a lot of what we work on.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah. And we work on it not only with the owners or the managers. Sometimes we're helping the team members
very
with
much
this.
so.
You know, we are either teaching the leaders how to teach their team, or we go in often and do team days with the team, or work in small groups with different teams, with different companies, and work on the mindset of the employees. Because as you said in your example, it wasn't just the leaders that were having this issue with the increased business. It was really the team, you know, all the way through that was feeling the crunch of all of this great problem to have, too much business. So, yeah, it's really important that we're grateful for all of that we, you know, really take the time to do that. So I think this is a great way to move forward. And sometimes our response comes out of fear. And fear can be
when
one
you
of
say our
those
response, like the E plus R equals O.
Yep.
So going back to that concept of, okay, you can respond positive or negative.
Right.
And you're saying, okay, we have this event and we've got this fear. Okay.
Yes,
so talk
exactly.
a little bit about this fear.
So that's one of the watch outs in order to, you know, sometimes can drive us to that negative response, is because we are just afraid, and we really get in our own mind about how things can go the wrong way, you know, how bad, how much worse it could get. Let's just say that tornado example, whatever. We, you know, don't just think of how bad it is now, but we go down the road. What if I lose my job because I'm so distraught by this? What if I, you know, fall in a hole because there's a sinkhole down the road when I'm driving my car? You know,
what if I break my ankle and I can't walk anymore? So in other words, you know, and we did read in the Wall Street Journal, 70% of our thoughts are going to be negative initially, just in general. And so you're right. This fear gets in our way. And so good question. Perspective is, how is fear to listening is getting in your way of moving forward to something you know?
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, we call fear as false expectations appearing real. So it's when we have put things in our mind that we believe so strongly that they're real, but they're really not real. And I had that experience myself when my daughter, we had a medical situation for her, and there was some testing and extra things that I knew she was not going to enjoy doing. She was only 6 years old at the time, you know, and I almost got in the way of her medical advancement because I was so afraid of her response, of how she would handle it and how we would get through it. And I think you even were the one that called me out on it, you know, saying, Michelle, you're letting fear get in your way. And I didn't even see it in myself. And I said, you're right, Peg. We don't live with fear. We need to move forward. I have to help her to get her mindset right. And so, you know, we got it right. And it was so much way less drama than I thought it was going to be.
Isn't that interesting? And when we have our family, and you know, sometimes our employees are like our family, and and as we're thinking about, oh, I'm afraid to have this crucial conversation because this will happen. This is how they'll respond. That fear does get in our way, and you know what? It eats us up. And so to your example, as you push through it and got on the other side. So question is, what decisions are getting in your way right now that are because of fear that you're not doing it now? Because when we return, you're going to go over some statistics on worry, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to go through the statistics of worry and, you know, put it into perspective, you know, of how we can simplify the worry and really be logical about overcoming our fear, because, you know, fear can paralyze us. And we can also give some more examples in the business world of how our fear gets in our way.
I like that. So when we return, we're going to give you strategies on how to deal with fear and worry so that your response is positive, so you get a great outcome, so that you're successful, because that's what we're all about, is seeing you to your success.
Absolutely.
And by giving you ideas.
Absolutely.
I like that. So this is Michelle and Peg, and we're talking about Andy Andrews, the Noticer, and how it applies to our coaching. When we return, we'll dive more into that.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Michelle and Peg. Yes. No Pete today. Pete's always been with us every Saturday at 1.
I bet I know where he is today, on his boat.
You know what? He's actually, He is on his boat. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, he's
Enjoying the sun, stole your dog, and they're out on the boat.
I love it. Good for him. And today's topic, we're talking about Michelle and I being executive business coaching for the last 10 plus years. Let's just do it that way. We're talking about some of the case studies that we run into. And right before break, we were talking about seeing how fear gets in our way.
Yes.
How fear and anxiety and stress evoke a response that's not going to be productive.
Right.
So we promised you that we had some statistics on worry and how to. I liked how you said it before the break. You're breaking it down to deal with worry better.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we definitely want to defeat our doubts and fears with logic is something that we want to work on. So we need to look at the statistics of things that help us to realize, is our fear legitimate or is our fear just getting in our way? So, when Andy Andrews talks about this in the book, he breaks it down into percentages.
Okay. I'm liking the percentages. Okay.
Yes. So he says of the things that we worry about, 40% of the things that we worry about will never occur.
Now, I believe that, and I would even have guessed even more.
I would too. Yeah.
I would have guessed even more. Like, if I look back and say, and you know what you could do to prove this to yourself is go back and look at things you worried about. Like Michelle, before the break, told your story of your daughter with the medical condition and all this worry you thought would happen.
Right.
And none of it did.
And none of it did. None of it was really logical. It just
all
was
emotion.
all games, all emotion that I was playing in my mind.
Yes.
And I like to call these myself the doomsdayers sometimes.
Yes.
And we all are doomsdayers at one point or another. But really just taking a situation and making it a million times worse than it actually is, worrying about things that would never really happen. And I really try to instill this in my kids when it comes to, like, they're still young, so they get a little bit afraid of thunderstorms and things like that. And,
right.
My son will really worry about tornadoes, or my daughter's young enough that, we're here in Ohio, so we don't really have to worry about hurricanes at all. But she'll be like, what if there's a hurricane? I mean, that's a perfect example of something that absolutely is never going to happen here in Ohio. But she, it's a fear that she gets. So we have to talk about the rationale and how that's not possible. And even with the tornadoes, yes, of course, that is a possibility. But the touchdowns of tornadoes in the city of Columbus
are few.
Are infinitely low.
Yes.
That it's not really realistic to overly worry every single time that there's a thunderstorm that your house is going to be hit by a tornado.
Right.
Do you have a plan for, taking care of the situation if there was a tornado, going to your basement, going into your room, those kind of things? Of course, you have to think ahead and be smart. But you don't really need to worry about the tornado hitting your house. The likelihood is just so unlikely, or necessarily being struck by lightning. Don't stand out there with a big rod in your hand in a lightning storm.
We don't want to bring it to you.
We're not going to try to attract it. But, the reality is that infinitely low possibilities that things will happen.
Okay, so 40%. So what Andy's saying is you look at 100% of your worry. 40% it will never happen. So get that emotional part, look at logic, 40%, write this on a board, 40% won't happen. Yes. Okay, so now what's the next highest percentage?
The next highest percentage is 30%. 30% of the things that we worry about are from our past. So we can't change them. They've already happened. It is what it is. The only thing that we can really do with that is learn from it and move on. So if we've done something or said something in the past that maybe we regret, you can't really live your life with regret. If there's something you can do to make it better now, to change or improve, things from the past, absolutely. Take that opportunity to do it. But otherwise, stop beating yourself up. The past is the past, and the only thing you can do is do better for tomorrow.
And sometimes, Michelle, you and I get coaching sessions, and we'll have an owner that says, I'm worried because in the past I said this to this employee, or I had this bad meeting, or I made this bad choice, and it worries me now. And really, that is part of the stop the worrying.
Yeah.
If it's in the past, it's in the rearview mirror. Let's look forward.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, and absolutely. If there's something to learn from it, if you learned that you didn't like your response in that thing, think of some other ways that you could have responded there. But it's not in a beating yourself up or trying to worry about the impact of that situation. It's just about how can you handle it better if it happens in the future. Say it was an employee who came in late and you screamed your bloody head off and called them all kinds of names that maybe you shouldn't have said. Not a good response. Probably didn't get a very positive outcome. However, it's not something that you want to tolerate for employees being late, all the time or different things like that. So how could you have responded better? And it's not in fixing that situation, which hopefully you apologized or, made better at the time, or if you still can, you could. how are we going to move forward? How are we going to treat the employees in the future that maybe do the same thing?
One thing that Michelle and I did with this team where we had a team that had some bad blood from before. They had misbehaved. And I say that meaning your example of yelling and or tearing down relationships. And we brought them together and we said, okay, you're going to be with each other 15 years. I need you to make a choice. Do you want to be happy or not? Period. You've got 15 years together. Do you want to be happy or not? And it's just a simple question.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Now, are you able to wipe the slate clean and not look back anymore at what happened, what she did, what he did? Would you agree to that? They said yes. Okay. And there's that 30% of worry of, I can't believe, and anger.
Right.
And so, we did start fresh. We came up with some expectations. We outlined them and we call it an alignment. And guess what? We're 1 month in it and everybody is moving along very happily and they're happier.
Yep.
And guess what? We're getting a lot of business done.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're communicating more.
Exactly. I have quite a few of my customers are up in the Michigan area, the Detroit area.
Right.
Obviously, they were hit very bad by the recession in 2008, 2009, 2010.
Very bad.
And, had really hard times. And many of them will look in that rearview mirror even though they're doing great now and worry about that. Well, if that happens again, what if the, bottom falls out from under me? We got to keep an eye on the car, industry and see how it's doing and all these things. And I tell them that obviously we need to have a preparation for that. We need to be watching our key performance indicators. We need to be watching our numbers. We need to be making sure that we're not seeing trends heading that way. But only thing that we can really do, we can't control the rest of the economy. We can only do things to make ourselves better, to make our team better, to make our customer service better, to be improving what we're offering for people. So again, it's getting over that rear view mirror worry and thinking ahead with smart strategy and logic.
I'm glad you brought that up, Michelle, because equally my clients are running into, well, I'm not so sure because back in 2008, right. I'm like, okay, enough. It's 10 years ago. We're going to learn from that and build. I like that. Okay, so you started out with 40%. Just never happens, period. Then we went to 30%, which is it's something that happened in the past. Okay, so then what's the next percent?
All right, so now the next is my favorite. 12% are needless imaginings about health. So you have a really bad headache, and it's probably because there's a storm front moving in, or just because you have some stress.
Or you're dehydrated.
You didn't eat today, whatever the situation is. It's a simple little headache. Take
or you're
some pills.
Not aligned. The chiropractor might be able to align you.
Yes, exactly. But your brain immediately goes to brain tumor. I have a brain tumor. I'm going to die in 3 months. And it's the worst thing that could ever happen to me.
Oh, my gosh. I hear that. Oh, and then you go on WebMD.
Oh, yes.
And you diagnose.
Exactly.
You diagnose, oh, my goodness, I have cancer.
It is.
I'm sure I have cancer.
Yes, or it's this rare form of disease that only less than 1% of the population ever gets.
I'm going to confess. I did this, and you're just making me. I'm confessing. So this 12% is real. I'm telling you. I was on the couch, and I kept having problems with, I forget my lower back, or I forget where it was.
Yeah.
My midsection, and I say that because I was on WebMD, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have kidney stones or gallbladder. I forget what it was. I was sure of it. Well, I had forgotten that I had done a bunch of sit-ups, and I had worked out extra hard. It was my muscles that were sore. I had convinced everybody that I was sure that I needed to go to the hospital.
Yeah, you better take me to the hospital right now. And again, it's not that you want to ignore important health concerns for sure, that they can't happen to some people, but let's go to the doctor. Let's let them, figure it out. Let's get some tests run if there's something that, is concerning us. Okay. We don't need to over worry about things that aren't true about our health.
Okay, so that's the 12%. Now, where do we go next?
The next is 10%. So 10% is worrying about what other people think.
That's big.
Let's think about that. First of all, I know we talk about a lot in coaching is that they're not really thinking about you. You think that people are thinking things about you, and they're more concerned about themselves and what other people are thinking about them.
They're wrapped up in theirs, yes.
They're in their own life. They're not even considering you at all. But also, we can't change what they think. We really can't do anything about
just
that.
Stop it on that one.
Stop it. Exactly.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Okay.
And then the final one is the 8%. Now, the 8% are our legitimate concerns, things that are actually something we need to worry about. So things that are on our major to-do list, things that are actively happening right now. And what we say with those is, okay, now we need to think logically. We need to control our response. think about what we can do with these things. Can we get them off our checklist? If it's something we can just do it now, get it done so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Otherwise, let's come up with a plan on how we're going to improve the situation, what we're going to do to get this task done, who we need to call in order to help us to get this task done. Because really, out of 100%, only 8% are the things that we should actually really be worrying about.
92% are not worry.
Are things you can let go. Yes.
Good job.
So we can talk about, different things as we move on to the next session.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
Well, you are with Peg and Michelle. It's funny because I want to say Peg and Pete, but it's Peg and Michelle.
Just rolls off.
I love it. I love it. So Michelle and I have been talking about a great book called The Noticer and how it interacts with our clients as we do executive coaching. And right before the break, Michelle just gave you a breakdown of 92% of worry. You just said, okay, 92% is when you worry, you got to stop it because it's ridiculous. So real quick, just revisit. What were the 4 categories or 5?
40% things that will never occur. 30% are things from the past. You need to just get over it, learn from it, and move on. 12% are needless worries about health, things that aren't really true about your health. 10% are worrying about what other people think. Well, let's face it, we can't change it, and they're probably not thinking about you anyway.
I like that one. I like that. They're too wrapped up in their own stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Uh-huh.
And then 8%. So out of 100%, only 8% are legitimate concerns that we need to deal with. So again, it's coming up with those strategies, planning logically what makes sense, how to get these done. In our time management segment that Pete and I did a few months ago, we talked about if it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it now. So it's off your list. It's off your worry. It's something you don't have to do. We also talk about doing mind dumps and just writing down everything that you need to get done so that it's there and it's tangible and you can check them off as you go. It can help you to develop, plans for getting rid of that. So helping to get rid of that worry.
I like it.
And just think of things, we talked a little bit about, maybe our response to an employee or something like that. Fear sometimes can paralyze. One of the most frequent things that I've seen when I'm working with a new leader or a new owner or somebody who just hasn't dealt with it in a long time is that getting rid of that bad seed in the crop.
Yes.
Get rid of that.
That's a poison. That's a poison, and it'll affect everything.
Absolutely.
It really will. And Michelle, you said something at one of our shows, the Time Management, one of our regular or earlier radio shows that we have done. What we did is we created a website. It's takeactionbusinesscoaching.com. Mm-hmm. So go www.takeactionbusinesscoaching.com. Go under Business Talk, and you'll see our archived shows there.
Yep. And they all have labeled as far as what the topics are. So there's tons of different things that we've covered, including, employee situations, employee issues, time management. We even talked about Andy Andrews' other book, Traveler's Gift, The 7 Decisions for Success.
We've talked about emotional intelligence, leadership development, improving you. So we have a lot of different topics that you're welcome to go back, listen to, and enjoy and apply.
Absolutely, and learn from those. So we were talking about fear, how it can paralyze us. So in the business, again, getting rid of that bad seed employee, sometimes our fear makes the situation so much worse. They're going to be devastated.
So
they're going to be on the street. They're going to cry. They're going to yell at me. The other employees are going to hate me if I get rid of this person. And we really try to talk our leaders through that, thinking of how grateful the rest of the team is going to be by you getting rid of this person that doesn't fit into the culture, the person that is breaking all the rules, the person that's causing all the trouble. But also, we like to think of it as far as that employee is setting them free for other opportunities.
Because they're not happy if they're that miserable.
They're not happy if they're that miserable, if they're causing trouble and not wanting to be, happy and grateful when they're at your employment. But people tend to not want to leave their comfort zone. So even if they're miserable, they may never leave.
Well, you know what's interesting is this happened to 2 of our clients that we coach, and both clients had poisonous employees leave, and it within a week, the tone of the culture completely different.
Absolutely.
So think about that.
Time and time again.
We do. We see it. And we're like, you have to do that hard decision.
Right.
Because they go, oh, I don't want to hurt that employee's feelings, and I'm worried about that employee. Well, guess what? How many people, if you have 20 employees, it's 20 people that it's affecting.
Yep.
So do you want to worry about 1 or 20?
Exactly.
So So I like that. Okay. So
Yeah.
I like that with the worry and the fear. Okay.
Exactly. So it's logically thinking it through, what can happen, and sometimes it takes them getting through it and seeing that it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be to have to make that step. But, you get what you tolerate. And so if you choose to put your head in the sand and allow this person to be stealing from you or coming in late all the time or talking back to you, talking back to other employees, being mean to your customers, if you don't do anything, then you're going to keep getting more of the same. So it's about getting over that fear, doing what needs to be done, whether it's a performance improvement plan, whether it's firing that person, whether, it's giving them the come to Jesus talk, as we like to say, whatever the case may be. So, we've had a lot of talk about that response, how to get over the fear, to have the positive response to get the outcome that we're looking for.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So looking through the book, there's different stories that Andy tells, and that we wanted to visit upon another one, which Michelle and I both just really enjoyed. You want to talk a little bit about is it the dialects?
Yes. Yep. The different, basically when he says, when you have perception, when you're living a perceptive life, that you need to know the people that you're relating to and about yourself, what language you speak. We could all talk to somebody, we're in America and we're trying to talk to somebody from Scotland. Well, we're both speaking English, but we may not understand a darn word that each other is saying.
This is happening with one of our clients is from New Zealand. Oh my goodness, his accent is so heavy, and he's English, and I can't understand him. Absolutely. It's a challenge.
You have to learn how to hear them properly, how to understand their language. Even if it's the same language, we have to look at how their language is. But we also talk a lot about, Peg, when you and I are working with team members, and of course our other coaches too, is the emotional bank account. When we're talking with people, it's about when we're constantly withdrawing stuff from people because we're constantly asking them to do things that they may not want to do, or we're taking time away from their families or whatever in the workplace. We just keep pulling and pulling and pulling from people. Well, if we're never adding any deposits to the amount of withdrawals that we're taking, they're going to be overdrawn.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is with the emotional bank account, we have withdrawals and deposits.
Right.
And it's like a bank where you want to make sure that your, what do you call that? Your balance is positive.
Right.
So you were saying the withdrawals you're asking them to work late. You're asking them a lot of favors. Those are withdrawals. A deposit might be, I'm going to give you a day off. I'm going to bring you lunch without asking.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what the important thing is, though, everybody has different things in their mind that they consider a deposit.
Okay.
So
got it.
if you may tell me that I'm beautiful and lovely and the best coach you've ever seen in the world, and that might just be great for me. But if I tell you the same thing, you're just like, yeah, whatever, lady, you're just shoving me off. I'm not saying you really would, but it might not mean as much to you as it does for me to hear those things. Mm-hmm. So it's important to figure out in your relationships at home, your friendships, your marriage, your kids, your customers in business, your employees in business, anything like that, any person that you relate to, if the most that you can figure out what they appreciate, what is meaningful to them, what would be their deposit. So he talks about the different languages here.
Oh, like the different dialects, going back to whether you're Scottish or New Zealand, that everybody, in order to understand them, you really have to perceive them correctly and understand, and go into the emotional bank account. What is it that's important to them as far as a deposit?
Exactly.
And he broke them down into 4 areas, right?
Okay. Yep, he does. And so he has a cute way of saying that they're the animals. So he has a puppy dog, and the puppy dog is really about the verbal praise. The puppy dog wants attention with words. He's happy no matter what you give. So you could be saying good or bad to this animal as long as you're giving them words and saying things, but it's your tone.
You're a good boy.
Yes,
you're a good boy. You're
exactly.
a good boy. I do think you're so sweet. Look at how soft you are.
Right.
Have you ever, and that tail is going nuts.
Yep. Even if you see the dogs, unfortunately out on the street with homeless people, they may not be getting as much food as they are, but they have the undivided attention and words of, this person, giving them love, that they're happy even though they might be somewhat miserable, so the puppy dog, it's all about the words and the praise. So
you're saying that we can equate this to people as far as understanding, to your point. I'm going to go back. You said customers, employees, relationships, that different people are motivated by different, we're calling them dialects in this for lack of a better word, but what is important to them? What is a deposit in their emotional bank account? And we call it the puppy, meaning affirmations, words excite them, like feedback, positive feedback. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got positive feedback. I like that.
Now the fish, if you think about the fish they're in their tank and they're just swimming around, and they don't really care if you touch them. They don't really care if you talk to them, but they just want you to feed them and clean their little bowl and maybe straighten their little castle for them a little bit here.
That's what a fish wants.
So it's really about doing things for the fish. The fish, if you're taking good care of your fish, the fish will feel loved and appreciated if you are doing things for the fish. So in relationship to people, it's helping each other out, doing little tasks for them. So it could be at work. If you see that your coworker is inundated with a ton of stuff on their desk, what can you do to take something off of their plate without them even asking? That could really improve their day.
Understanding what motivates them, and in this case, doing things.
Exactly.
So one could be words of affirmation, the deposit, we're calling it.
Yep.
Second could be doing things. Okay, there's two more,
right?
There's two
more. So the third is the cat, and the cats appreciate touch. So if you think about your cat, might not care if you talk to it, but they enjoy that you're petting them, stroking their back, and they might rub against your legs to show you that they have affection for you. So in this case, for humans, it's people appreciate the touch. So obviously in workplace, you got to be careful here.
Yeah, don't touch in the workplace. I just say that all the time.
No inappropriate touching.
No.
But you still could give them a pat on the shoulder, or, just a little pat on the hand.
Or a warm smile or a warm look.
Exactly.
Just something of warmth.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. What is appropriate. But at home, could be somebody that wants a hug or, hold their hand or whatever, but at work, it's got to be a little more controlled.
I got it.
But they still appreciate that touch and that feeling of warmth, as you said. So the final one is the canary. And canaries love to just have quality time with somebody. They want somebody to listen to what they have to say. They want somebody to listen to their song. They, want to have a real interaction. So it's not just about the fluffy praise that you're talking fluffy praise.
They want to be listened to. They want their song, somebody to hear their song.
Exactly. And they actually, as much as you feed them and water them, if they don't have somebody to spend quality time and somebody to sing to and somebody to interact with, they actually die. They fall apart and die. So, what you want to look at is, who of your employees, of your friends, of your relationships wants you to really spend quality time with them. It's not just about brushing them off.
That's good. You've gone through four things: the puppy dog, which is words; the goldfish, which was that actions, doing things. There was the one you just finished with the canary.
Oh yeah, the canary,
and then the cat or the kitten, the touch.
Yep.
So understanding those four and defining them.
Right. Exactly. Letting to know what people want so that you can give them their great emotional deposits that you're looking for. So if you are interested in learning more about us, you can visit our website at takeactionbusinesscoaching.com. But we also would like to offer one free consultation to a business.
One free.
The first business that calls in will get a 1-hour consultation with one of our coaches about your business. The number is 614-306-7922. Give us a call today. The first one gets it.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.